Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Grix, and today I am going to feature Malite on the GB Academy Explain videos. If you guys enjoyed the Explain videos, hit the thumbs up and support us by subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Or you can let Sil know in the comments below what you want next for the Explain videos. But today I am only going to focus Malite S2, so let's go. Hey guys, if you're here, you've probably watched my previous GB Academy Explain videos. Basically, I try to break down how to shoot your weapon on various tanks. Obviously, there are standard tanks, and then we have special tanks. So I try to cover that, and today we will be looking into Malite's S2. Since someone did request it, so I will go ahead and do what I can. Let's go. So the first suggestion I would always suggest is to try it out in the easy mode or the try the tank, because Malite is a special Malite is a special tank. Very easy, very fun to play, and kind of gets boring quick. You can land your Super Sky really easily, but it takes a little bit of practice to know how high your S2 marker needs to go. Otherwise, if it's too low, you don't hit with two lasers. If it's too high, the two lasers cross into an X, and then you don't hit anything, or you just kind of make two big holes, and basically it doesn't do anything. So always try to find a landmark on your phone, and I don't know, use your finger to measure it, or maybe do what Sil does. He would put his junk on his phone and measure it, and even then it's still not long enough. Just kidding. But anyways, for me, I use the iPad, so I kind of have a specific landmark indicator here. As you can see, I'm moving it, so then I kind of know how high I need the transfer marker to be. So it's kind of like a cheat tool for me, but obviously if you don't need it, that's great. If you do, well, if you can probably source it on the Apple product and also the Android, I don't know. But overall, Malite's aim follows two aspects, obviously, which is the horizontal axis and the vertical axis. The horizontal is actually quite easy. The count is always the same, and I'll show you guys in a bit. But the vertical axis is what makes and breaks Malite. Because if the wind is diagonal, you have to adjust accordingly. If the wind is north or south, again, you have to adjust accordingly. And if you don't, because you just, you're used to pulling full power, and that you will not hit your target at all. So one thing to note is to make sure the horizontal line is always in check, and adjust accordingly to the wind. So perfect game can be done with the S2. Now it takes quite a bit of skills. I never tried to attempt it, but I have seen it happen because I was the victim, where you basically pull the S2 as high as you can, so letting the lasers cross to make the X, and then you hit two separate targets. But obviously your two targets already have to be within that proximity. So anyways, you can try that. I wouldn't necessarily practice that and have that as your main skill set, but it would be nice to have just to know how to do it in a dire situation. So anyways, okay, moving on to the pros. Okay, let's see. The pros, Sil and I, we really try to think of the pros. It's really hard because Malite, anyways, I'll go to the pros first. Pros, well, Malite's damage is high. The SS is pretty good on damage, and it blows up a lot of land, and it's very easy to shoot. And also the range upgrade since the latest update in August of 2021 really made Malite playable, not only as a drop tank. So you can play him in the front position if you want. I wouldn't necessarily put him in the second position when you're playing 1v1, just because you do lose a little bit of range, and even though you have the range upgrade from the update, it's still not long enough to shoot far distance. So it went from short distance to medium distance. So anyways, I also mentioned the easy SS. Now moving on to the cons, let's see here. HP is definitely one of them. Any tank with 600 HP, that's a negative on its own. The firing angle, now you gotta know, okay, most tanks' firing angle, like where the bullet comes out of, is usually in front of the tank or on top of the tank. Just like Plaz, it shoots right above the head. Now Malite is the opposite of Plaz, it shoots right at the base of the tank, so if you get stuck, you're not shooting anything, and you know your opponent can easily trap you as well if you are on a very small piece of land. As long as they stand in front of you, you can't do anything. So that's a big negative for me. The close range is kind of also the thing that I just mentioned. Like, you know, one thing to kind of try to stop a Malite is to either stand in front of it or just bungee shot and then just stand on top of and over him. So and also the climbing is actually not that great as well. So you kind of have, like, you know, shit on top of shit, and then now you have a pile of shit. The tornado position is a bad thing as well. If your opponent stays right in the middle of the tornado, your S2 will not hit, because the S2 will not activate when it's spinning in the tornado. Maybe one side will, but you will not get both sides, or like perfectly in the middle, if your opponent is utilizing the tornado to their advantage. And also friendly fire on SS, I mean, it's a wide hitbox. It's the widest I can think of, and the firing, you know, the hitbox is just massive, which is why it can break a lot of land. So it can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, but I choose to put it on the bad side because it's hard to use it when you or your teammate is close to the enemy. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the win calculation with Malite is super easy. Whether it is from all 8 quadrants, okay, it is the same count. Okay, so I'm gonna explain. Okay, north wind, as always, most tanks, ratio is 3-to-1, which is 33% times the wind count. And obviously, if it's north, you move it in front, and then if it's south, you move it in back. And unless you're a boomer, you reverse it, right? Some tanks change the ratio a little bit, but most tanks stay within this 3-to-1 ratio. And so, yeah, there's really not much to it other than the fact that if it's north wind, you just have to count, okay, if it's 0 wind, this is how high the transfer marker is. So if, let's say, the wind is 10, which is blowing it up pretty high, you're gonna need to move the marker, you know, at least 4 or 5 rulers down, right? Because that's kind of how you have to manage it. And, you know, managing the vertical sorry, did I say horizontal line before? Managing the vertical line is the most important part with Malite's gameplay. If you want to maximize Malite's damage, yeah, the vertical line is super important. So as I say here, adjust the S2 height according to the wind count. Higher wind equals lower, and obviously if the wind is lower, then you make the marker higher, right? Clear as mud. Alright, moving on to the northeast wind. Again, ratio is 3-to-1, so basically, if the wind is 6, honestly, you just move the crosshair right off of the target. But, again, it's managing the vertical line, right? Malite is never about the horizontal line, it's always the vertical line, because, you're gonna know, the ratio stays the same from for all 8 quadrants and, you know, everything in between. So, you're just gonna have to, you know, manage that. Basically, you just have to manage 4 ruler lengths of play, right? Like, it's super easy. Whereas others, you might have like Boomer, Phoenix, or Arrow, you might have to move like 3 full rulers over. So, anyways, let's see, what else did I say here? Adjust S2 marker accordingly with northeast wind, diagonal wind. You should, or you will have to move the marker polar opposite to the wind direction. So obviously, if it is northeast, you will just have to move the marker southwest downward, but maintaining, you know, whatever the wind is. If the wind is 6, it should still stay at 2 off the target. It's just you have to lower the vertical line accordingly, right? So yeah. East wind, nothing special here, nothing like the 120% counts or just 100% count or +2 or whatever that bullshit is. Ratio stays the same, 3 to 1, 33% times the wind count. So if you are a Malite player, just have your division by 3 in handy. If you don't have it, I don't know, write it on a piece of paper or something, because there's no formula to Malite other than the fact that, you know, every 3 wind you have to move the ruler 1 left or right, of course, and that's about it. But again, I can't stress that enough. It is the vertical line that is the most important thing, which is why sometimes, you know, on white maps that because I have visual impairment, I can't see the white line, so therefore I can't judge whether it's high or low enough, and sometimes I really mess up. So, you know, basically, when it's a white map, I just leave. So, sorry. Moving on to southeast wind. Okay, now, if you guys have watched my Boomer S1 tutorial, I mentioned this a little bit. The Boomer S1 for southeast wind is exactly the same for Malite. Because Malite's S2 for southeast wind, the ratio, no matter what the wind is, it's basically 0. So you just make sure, you know, it's perfectly diagonal. Then you just point it right at them with the correct height, of course. And do mind, it is southeast, so you will have to move the marker up a little bit higher, not by much, but again, according to the wind, and you will hit your target every single time. Now, I did make a note here. Okay, if the wind direction aims slightly upward, it's upward, on southeast wind, move the crosshair slightly in front of the tank, and obviously adjust accordingly. And obviously the reverse effect, if the wind direction is slightly down on the SE wind, move the crosshair slightly behind the tank, and again, adjust accordingly. So if it's perfectly diagonal, okay guys, if it's perfectly diagonal, you can leave it right on top of the tank's head. But if it sways a little bit, so if you see the arrow kind of bouncing up and down a little bit, just adjust accordingly, right? So like, is it bouncing more upward or is it bouncing more downward, right? Because it can only be up or down. Unless it doesn't move, then it stays right in the middle. So anyways, south wind is exactly the opposite of north wind, and I don't think I have to repeat that, but I will just for drill exercise. Okay, so ratio is 3 to 1, 33% times the wind count. If the wind is 3, you move the ruler, which is -1, technically behind the tank. Adjust the S2 height accordingly to the wind. Lower wind equals higher marker accordingly, okay? Southwest wind, which everyone thinks it is the most difficult one. It is not. It is exactly the same as northeast wind. You know, you're just basically doing the opposite thing, right? So for northeast, your transform marker, or your S2 marker rather, is in front of the tank and you lower it, right? So on the southwest wind, you move the marker behind and a little bit higher. That's all you really need to do. Again, if the wind is whatever number it is, just divide it by 3 and that is your number. So you might ask, hey Grix, what if the wind is 7? Well, technically it's, I don't know, 2.33. You can either put it at 2 or 2.5, right? As long as you're within that 0.5 threshold range, you're okay. If you're off, then, you know, maybe one laser might not hit, or you just technically have a partial hit and miss completely with no like judgment, reward, and all that shit. But it's, you know, Malite is a super easy tank, like I've mentioned. Just remember you're divisible by 3 and you will be good. Okay, so moving on to the west wind. Again, ratio is 3 to 1, 33% times the wind count. That is the example. I didn't put any notes there because I don't need it. I don't need to. Okay, so the last but not least, okay, northwest wind ratio is 0, because remember, southeast wind, right, that ratio is 0, which is neutral wind. If it's the polar opposite, which is northwest wind, guess what? It's still the same thing. You just have to move the marker a little bit lower. That's all you need to do. Just remember, if the wind is pushing it up, right, like the arrow is pointing up, you have to move your S2 marker a little bit down. It's common sense. Unless you are really new to Gunbound, I'm sure you already know all these things. But for anyone out there who wants to, you know, really play Malite to the best that they can, you know, again, just practice your vertical line and remember you're divisible by 3. Okay, and what else did I say here? Okay, adjust crosshair slightly in the front. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, this one, the NA, the neutral wind, it works with close range position. No, the medium range. Sorry. So adjust crosshair slightly in front if you are within close range, aka risky shot, right? So if, let's say, the arrow is pointing northwest, and you are right in front of the target, you are no longer putting the crosshair right on top of him, because the west side of the wind will blow your projectile backwards a little bit. So you will have to move it, I don't know, slightly behind, maybe half and half, or even completely off, depending on how high the wind is, just to account for that. So there is a difference between medium range and close range, right? I'm not gonna get too far into the long range with S2 because you can't. It just limits you at the medium range anyway. So if you are planning to play Malite as a drop tank position, then you can, you know, really utilize and master the close range proximity so that you don't hit yourself, you hit your target with bang on, perfect or good hits, and you get your risky shot. So again, remember, when you're up close, it's no longer neutral, it's no longer 0, you're gonna have to move it backward. And reverse, right? If it is southeast wind, you're gonna have to move it in front rather than putting it on neutral, right? So whatever you're doing, if you can remember one method, right? Basically 4 quadrant, if you can remember that on the other side of the 4 quadrant that you're not gonna try and remember, just think of it as the polar opposite, because it is. So yeah. What else did I say here? Okay, if the wind direction is slightly upward, northwest wind, adjust crosshair in front of the tank. Crosshair in front. Wait, no, it's behind the tank. Sorry, guys. Sorry, this one is totally wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. Behind the tank. All right. Let's see here. Now, if the wind direction is blowing slightly down. Oh wait, shit, no. I'm still in front. I totally forgot. I am still talking about northeast. I thought I was talking about something else. No. Okay, in front. Okay, now these 2 points that I mentioned, they follow the medium range proximity, or, you know, within the medium range threshold. If you don't know what medium range is, it's basically where your first 2 starting tanks in the front line, that's the medium range. The 2 back tanks from left and right, that's long range, right? So, and then somewhere down the middle, like right in between where you both spawn in the middle of the map, that's close range. So think about that when I'm talking about close, medium, or long range. Now, if you are, let's say, within starting position, meaning medium range, and let's say the crosshair is kind of northwest, but not really, like it's like slightly upward, slightly downward, then follow these 2 instructions, okay? If the wind direction is slightly upward at northwest wind, adjust the crosshair to be in front of the tank. Now, if the wind direction is slightly downward when it's pointing at northwest, meaning it, you know, it's like bouncing up and down, or it's just 1 tick down, then you move the crosshair behind the tank slightly. Again, you will have to practice because depending on the wind, you might have to move it a little bit more, of course. But just remember, your ruler should never be anywhere further than 4 in front or 4 behind. So yeah, it's kind of like Gunbound for dummies, to be honest. Like if you are new to Gunbound, Malite is a pretty good starter tank, so I would try to get him. And plus, when you get Malite, you get the Slam, and you get Gauss. Is it Gauss? I don't know. But Slam and Malite, pretty OP, pretty easy to play, and all that stuff. Okay, so what else did I say here? Malite should be played on either front position or drop tank position. When playing in the first position, the pair the tank up with HP or damage reduction avatars. When playing the tank as a drop tank, I personally like Robot X3. A lot of people put Joker or Coroni or whatever it is. I personally just think Robot X3 is better, and this is the reason why. If you're playing, right, they take out your first tank first, you drop, you will not get that SS addiction bonus, right? So technically you're just paperweight. You just have Coroni's heal, or you have Joker's ability that doesn't even proc. Why would you risk that when you can use Robot X3 right when you land? Go up close if you can, land a Super Sky, land a Risky, you get your SS damage reduction bonus. You're at 24 or 25% damage reduction depending on what jewel you have on Robot X3, and you will survive another turn, or another set of turns. So technically you will maybe be likely to shoot your SS, but again, you might think, well, Coroni can do it. Yeah, only if you get the addiction bonus, right? So it's a trade-off, and I think mainly because Malite's HP is so fucking low, any HP, any defense on it will help you, because Coroni's heal only, heals like what, 14, 16%, which isn't a lot, 100 HP, right? You look at Malite wrong and you lose 100 HP. So anyways, that is just my take on Malite. Again, it's just my suggestion. You can use whatever avatar you want. You can even use, I don't know, no avatar like the C-grade Knight, and you can probably still kick ass in the lower league. Anyways, that is it. I'm gonna bring you guys some gameplay, but hopefully this Gunbound Academy Explained video is useful to you guys, or whoever is watching, or whoever is inquiring about it, because I like making notes. I'm that kind of guy to have like all the specs and shit listed out, so that at least I know, because I basically play every single tank, and it's kind of hard to remember sometimes, especially like if it's tanks I don't often play. Anyways, I will see you guys in the gameplay video. Hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, bye.